Hello and welcome to Moneylife. This is Sucheta Dalal. This week, let's talk about something different. Let's talk about the great land grab that's going on in Mumbai and how public assets are being sold to private interests. Now, if you're not a Mumbaikar, you may probably think, why does it matter to me? But remember, what happens here is already happening around the country and will eventually trickle down to wherever it is that you are. So let's start with this land grab by Parth Pawar, nephew of Ajit Pawar, Deputy Chief Minister. It's created enough of a controversy. You would have read it on the front pages of your newspapers wherever you are in India. What was the deal? For those of you who haven't bothered, it was about the transfer of 40 acres of government land near Pune, which was reserved for the scheduled caste community, to a firm linked to the Deputy Chief Minister's son. That's Parth Pawar. It was being sold for just 300 crore against an estimated market value of 1800 crore. It also involved an illegal stamp duty waiver of 21 crores. They don't even want to pay 21 crores as stamp duty. Can you escape it when you buy a house? And how? Under the pretext that they were setting up a data center. So a huge political uproar. This led to a hasty reversal. A case has been filed ignoring Mr. Pawar, who innocently says, I didn't know, and it's being accepted. Do you accept it? Now, the point is, let's think about this. That land grab by politically connected persons has become so normalized that you weren't surprised. At the most, you're angry at the quick reversal when caught. Now, this is not happening only here. The worst case is when public infrastructure agencies who have public land allocated to them at the time they were set up, maybe pre-independence or post-independence, free of cost or at a throwaway price, are now behaving like landlords. They're rushing to monetize this land, granted free. Okay, it was meant to serve the citizens. This land belongs to the people, whether it is in Pune, Bombay, Mumbai, or anywhere else in the country. It's not a tradable asset for short-term fiscal gain and value extraction. But it has been systematically and repeatedly monetized by giving it to private builders and their political partners. Remember, nobody wins a bid without political support. Now, what exactly is monetization of public land? Let's take examples. Entities like BEST, Brihan Mumbai Electric Supply Transport Undertaking, MSRTC, Maharashtra State Transport Corporation, Mumbai Port Trust, Railways, all of them are drawing plans for land monetization. The model is simple but insidious. It is that whatever we have too much land, we need much less land for our operation. Why has this happened? Like I said, post-independence, pre-independence, large tracts of land were given to anybody who was a public sector or government entity. Why? Because it was expected that they will behave and do everything for us, the people. They are about us. They're government undertakings. They're not landlords. That's why they have more land than they need. So we'll reserve this small place, move the business there, and hand over the rest to private builders for development, which will raise money. And this is being called monetization. The latest example is a white paper that has been produced by the Maharashtra Institute of Transformation. It's called Mitra. It's a Maharashtra government policy think tank. Its proposal not to enhance public transport, but first monetize bus depots. We've already had really negative cases coming up with the first few privatizations where builders just took over. Without getting into details of that and what happened, they say, we'll start with 3 pilot projects, Bandra, Dindoshe, Devnar, and then why stop at 3? Let's monetize all 27 bus depots that we have in Mumbai, because we're going to monetize and modernize these aging depots, attract private investment and create mixed use spaces. So what will you do? You have a depot, you will build over it. So you will say, I'll have the depot below, and above it will be commercial and residential luxury apartments, offices, what have you. Sounds beautiful on paper. We have seen already, didn't work at Mahim, right? They don't discuss that. The logic, impeccable and very simple. Cash-strapped public bodies like BST are losing money and need non-fair revenue. So what is it that they can earn revenue and extract revenue from? The land, because government has gifted them a lot of land. It ignores the fact that much of this has to do with gross mismanagement for over 2 decades or more. It's been sinking from being one of the best run transport undertakings in the world, a showpiece, to the mess it is today. And please look at the pitiable crowds on the few buses that are now remaining with BEST. So first they outsourced things, they said wet lease, they had incompetent drivers, they had accidents, they went and bought buses that were catching fire. This is steady mismanagement by bureaucrats, by the government over the decades because of political interference and corruption. Has it ever been investigated? No. Now we'll grab the last remaining asset they have, which is the land. It's not about reforming government governance, it is about stripping assets, right? The justification, like I said, sounds reasonable. Cash-strapped public bodies need revenue, and we can just completely whitewash and ignore financial mismanagement, political interference, corruption, dubious contracts, what have you. So we had 3 bus depots. I told you Mahim, Kurla, Andheri, where it's just been taken over by builders. Some of the revenue has not even been received. This cannot happen. The government can get tough unless there are strings and vested interests. And what else has happened? Cramped depots, fewer parking bays, not a comfortable place for users and commuters, and builders walking away with huge tracts of real estate. Are you happy with this? I, as a Mumbaikar, am losing patience. I was happy to find so are many others, activists, concerned citizens, thinkers, what have you. We are tired of one-sided decisions which are touted as development, no public discussion, no checks and balances. We do not want monetization as a short-term fix of the most valuable resource, which is land. We have seen this play out repeatedly over the decades. You know what happened to mill lands? It was the green lung of Mumbai. Large amounts of trees, mills in the middle. Now you would be lucky to find a bit of green space anywhere, a few trees planted here and there. The mill land sell-off went to court, all the way to the Supreme Court, no checks and balances. So you have luxury towers and offices in the middle of squalid, narrow streets, complete traffic chaos. They didn't even think about the need to expand stations. So you had a stampede at Elphinstone. So now you've covered it up by renaming it Prabhadevi Station. We still continue to have complete chaos. So one after the other, we are now breaking down the bridges. Elphinstone Bridge has been broken because it cannot cater to the huge increase in traffic that you have created by bad planning and giving away mill lands only to monetize, make money without looking at infrastructure and the people. The same thing is happening with cluster development. Port trust land sales have not delivered public benefit. What is worse, you go to courts with a public interest petition, and courts too are repeatedly willing to accept the government's grand assurances without examining the track record of broken promises, which you and I remember, which you and I suffer, right? Remember Gokhale Bridge? So alarmed at this new wave of monetization, including the plans for monetizing railway land by taking existing commuter railways underneath without having alternatives. Mind you, you start thinking about it without looking at alternatives. And it is worrisome because we know how it has moved. So a bunch of activists met in October to question the wisdom of surrendering irreplaceable public land to private builders in the name of fiscal reform. And all of us have got together and produced a white paper. There NGOs across the city who participated in it, who endorsed it. So what are we saying? Can government bodies act like landlords? Question 1. So we are saying public undertakings like BEST, MSRTC are land rich and cash poor. Instead of fixing their inefficiency, enforcing accountability, reducing corruption, improving revenue collection, you are liquidating their land under political pressure. Almost every public agency has been directed to identify underutilized land for redevelopment. Now, once a private developer steps in with the political muscle behind him, projects are altered later. So they win the bid first by bidding low, then the projects are altered, they're delayed, then you hand them time extensions, cost extension, more FSI, floor space index, and public benefits are quietly reduced. happen time and time again. There's weak oversight, there is collusion, and we end up with substandard products with reduced public amenities. Now, let me quote biggest example of them all. We have innumerable examples, but the showpiece Atal Setu Trans Harbour Bridge, proposed in the 1960s, finally done, looked grand, we were delighted, we use it, fat toll of 250 rupees, and guess what? In under 2 years, the MMRDA, which is the Mumbai Metropolitan Region Development Authority, without a trace of embarrassment, posts on X, formerly Twitter, that we are now resurfacing the whole Atal Setu. Hello? A systemic failure that you build this engineering marvel and you cannot surface it properly. In 2 years' time, you're resurfacing it at whose cost? The toll that you collect from us? Are you answerable to anybody? Is the government questioning it? Have you seen a single question? This outrage on social media, but have you seen a single government question about this? No. It's time for us citizens to push back. So the civil society white paper is doing exactly that. It has NGOs, activists, urban planners. What are we asking? A moratorium on all land monetization until you have a transparent, accountable framework which is established. Monetization cannot be a backdoor mechanism to capture real estate of public assets, our assets meant for us. Remember, this problem is not limited to Bombay. As I said earlier, MSRTC is included. It has 1,300 acres of land. They want to monetize it under modernization. Private builders and developers are already circling because who doesn't want 13,000 acres of bus depot land? Once signed, it'll be a 98-year lease. That means for a century, the state is out of the picture and you cannot ask questions. As good as sold. It's nothing like a 100-year lease. Who knows what happens after 100 years? So this is not confined to transport alone. The Mumbai Port Trust steadily auctioning waterfront estates. Railways came up with this idea, which has shocked us, about taking the entire jam-packed commuter route underground. I mean, do they need to do it now? And why? Monetization, development. Nice buzzwords when people are hanging around packed like sardines, falling off trains every day. We've reached a point of no return. And we need to wake up. Mumbai's tragedy is the sheer scale of public ownership of land. Vast tracts are held by the municipal corporation, the state government, central agencies, and this is the most precious asset in Mumbai. That's why 90% of our politicians have become builders or have partnerships, some known, some unknown. Once they manage to monetize all this land, give it away to private builders, there is no going back. You can't reclaim it. Future generations, think about your children, are going to inherit this choked city where every square meter is commercialized. There is no green space, no open parks, no bus depots or civic amenities. You travel around the world and you see how much of space everywhere is reserved for green spaces. You don't get a pavement on which you can walk like a decent human being. For citizens, this is the moment to draw a red line. Once our public land is leased for 98 years or a century, it's effectively gone forever. Monetization today is to barter Mumbai's tomorrow or India's tomorrow to trade short-term gains for political convenience. The civil society white paper has articulated this public anxiety, recorded strong objections to the ongoing and indiscriminate monetization of public land to fill fiscal gaps or fund short-term projects. In fact, it says land held by public bodies is not theirs to sell or lease for a profit. It is a public trust, cannot be diverted to private interests in the name of revenue generation without a coherent policy, transparency, and accountability to Mumbaikars. So we are not saying no to development. We are not saying don't ever develop, let this remain, let these undertakings remain sick. But are you accountable? You had disastrous examples in the past. You have this Atal Setu which is being resurfaced. Now you are answerable to us. You have to tell us what you're going to do. What are your checks and balances? There's a visible lack of attention to quality of life issues in Mumbai, rampant encroachment of public spaces, roads, pavements to which every political party turns a blind eye. There is displacement of long settled communities in the name of development. Just throw them out because you're developing. Shrinking open spaces, irreversible transfer of public assets to private hands. And even those of you who are beating the drumbeat of development saying, we do not want Andolan GVs and we don't want protests, please think about the air. Please think about what happens when you take your fancy car out and you don't have road space and you're in a jam for the next 3 hours. This is the time to say, have development with accountability, with checks and balances. The demands are simple. Public land is held in public trust. The state and its agencies are only custodians, not owners. They must preserve and enhance it, not diminish it. Second, suspend all ongoing or proposed monetization initiatives. You cannot do them behind closed doors and justify them with bureaucratic jargon. It needs public consensus. Third, prepare a white paper which includes a citywide audit of all public land with full disclosure of lease terms, ongoing monetization transactions with all details, formulate a land use policy that's arrived at after public consultation, put a freeze on new monetization projects until this public framework is debated and approved. Enact a Public Land Protection Act so that this is legislated and cast in stone. It will define public purpose. It will classify essential lands such as what is needed for depots, schools, hospitals, open spaces, parks, gardens, which will be non-alienable public assets. It will institute mandatory audits, oversight, and citizens' participation. Unless Mumbai halts this reckless monetization, we will be a city of luxury towers with no roads, gated communities, surrounded by traffic chaos, narrow encroached lanes, bad air, and citizens will be priced out of their own commons. Public land is not a piggy bank which can be raided whenever the state bureaucrats feel like grabbing something or elections around the corner. Once it is sold, it's lost forever. So this is a fight to protect not just Mumbai's land. It's not about property. It is about preserving Mumbai's soul. It is about all of us. The fight will be the spirit of Mumbai. If you agree, please share and make other people aware of what's going on. Thank you.